I was 69 years old when I realized that danger doesn't always come from strangers or dark roads or bad neighborhoods. Sometimes it comes from the people who know exactly how you take your coffee and where you keep your important papers. It comes quietly, politely, wearing a familiar face. And by the time you understand what's happening, the trap is already built around you. I had lived alone since my wife passed away. 7 years of quiet mornings and predictable routines on my small property outside Toledo, Ohio. I liked the stillness. I liked knowing what each day would bring. I believed I had earned that peace. I was wrong. The first thing that felt off was my mailbox. Not what was in it, but what wasn't. For decades, I received paper statements from my pension fund and two banks. Same envelopes, same timing, like clockwork. Then 1 month passed with nothing. I assumed it was a delay. The next month, still nothing. When the third month came and went, a pressure formed in my chest that I couldn't explain. I drove into town and went straight to my bank branch, the one where the tellers still knew my name. When I asked about my statements, the young woman behind the counter frowned at her screen and said, "Sir, you opted out of paper statements last quarter." I told her I hadn't. She turned the monitor slightly so I could see. There it was, a digital request submitted with my name, my account number, and my password. I felt heat rise behind my eyes, not anger yet, just disbelief. I asked who made the change. She said it was done online, from a verified device. That device, according to the login record, was located in Columbus. I hadn't been to Columbus in years. The only person I knew there was my nephew, Eric. He was 34, charming, always struggling, but always optimistic, at least on the surface. After my wife died, he started visiting more often. He fixed small things around the house, brought groceries, insisted on helping me modernize my finances. He was the one who convinced me to set up online banking in the first place. "Uncle Tom," he'd said, smiling like a salesman who believes his own pitch, "this is just safer. What if something happens to you?" I remember laughing then, telling him I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. He laughed too. I didn't confront Eric right away. Instead, I asked the bank to print out my recent transactions. I sat in that chair for a long time, reading numbers that didn't make sense, withdrawals I didn't recognize, transfers labeled as consulting fees and investment allocations. Small at first, then larger, like someone testing how much they could take without triggering alarms. The total made my hands tremble. Over $47,000 had disappeared over 8 months. Money I had saved carefully, money meant to last me the rest of my life. The bank manager asked if I wanted to freeze the account and file a fraud report. I told her no, not yet. Something told me that if I acted too fast, I'd lose the chance to see the whole picture. That night, I went home and sat at my kitchen table in the dark. The house creaked the way it always did, familiar sounds that used to comfort me. Now they felt distant. I thought about Eric's visits, about how he always asked casual questions about my bills, my savings, my will. I remembered how he once joked, "You're sitting on a gold mine, Uncle Tom." I'd laughed then. Now that laughter echoed in my head like a warning I'd ignored. I decided to test him. The next morning, I went to a different bank in a neighboring town and opened the new account. I moved a significant portion of my remaining savings into it. No online access, no debit card, paper statements only. Then I waited. It took less than 48 hours. Eric called me on a Tuesday evening, his voice light but tight underneath. He asked how I was feeling, then casually mentioned that my accounts looked a little different. I asked him what he meant. There was a pause, just long enough to tell me everything. He said he'd gotten an alert about unusual activity and wanted to make sure I was okay. I asked him why he was getting alerts for my accounts at all. He stumbled, said something about helping me manage things, about my memory not being what it used to be. That's when I felt anger for the first time. Not explosive anger, but something cold and steady. I told him I was fine and hung up. Over the next week, I started digging. I pulled out my old laptop, the one Eric had cleaned up months earlier because it was running slow. I turned it on and noticed something immediately wrong. The cursor moved slightly on its own. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Then it happened again. I opened the task manager and saw a program running that I didn't recognize, remote access software, installed the same week Eric had last fixed my computer. My stomach dropped. I used my phone to research the program and learned exactly what it could do. Full access, files, keystrokes, banking information, everything. Someone had been watching my digital life like it was an open book. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a list. Dates of Eric's visits, dates of transactions, changes to my accounts. Patterns emerged quickly. Each withdrawal followed one of his visits or phone calls. He wasn't guessing, he was monitoring me. The realization hurt more than the money loss. This was someone I had trusted, someone I'd helped through college, someone who called me like a second father. I felt foolish, but I also felt something else: determination. If Eric thought I was weak, he had made a serious mistake. I called an old friend the next morning, Linda Parker, a retired fraud investigator. I told her everything. She listened quietly, then said, "Tom, this isn't just theft. This is elder financial abuse, and it's calculated." She told me to document everything, to change nothing yet, and to let her help me set a trap. Over the next 2 weeks, I pretended nothing had changed. I let Eric continue accessing the compromised accounts while quietly gathering evidence on a separate device he couldn't see. I recorded calls. I saved logs. I watched him grow bolder. He stopped hiding withdrawals. He started talking about investments and long-term planning. He even suggested I sign a power of attorney so he could handle things if I got sick. The final straw came when I received a notice from the county recorder's office. A lien had been filed against my property. My house, fully paid off for over a decade, had been used as collateral for a private loan. My signature was on the document. It looked real, too real. Linda took one look and said, "This is forged, but it's a good forgery." I felt my knees weaken. If that loan defaulted, I'd lose everything I had left. And the lender wasn't a bank. It was a private firm known for aggressive collections. We contacted law enforcement that same day. When they confronted Eric with the evidence, he didn't deny it for long. He cried. He said he was desperate. Gambling debts, bad investments, pressure from people who didn't take no for an answer. He said he never meant to hurt me, that he planned to pay it all back. I listened without interrupting, my heart heavy, but my mind clear. Intent doesn't erase damage. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. Eric was arrested on multiple charges. Watching him in handcuffs felt surreal, like watching a stranger wear a familiar face. The months that followed were quiet again, but not the same kind of quiet. There were court dates, paperwork, sleepless nights. The lien was removed. Most of the stolen money was recovered. My accounts were secured. Eric was sentenced to prison. I visited him once. He apologized. I believed he was sorry. That didn't mean I could undo what he'd done. Trust, once broken that deeply, doesn't grow back easily. Sometimes it doesn't grow back at all. Now, when people ask me how something like that could happen, I tell them the truth. It didn't start with theft. It started with help, with someone saying, "Let me take care of this for you." If you're listening to this and something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Pay attention to your instincts. Ask questions. Protect yourself, even if it means protecting yourself from family. Survival is not betrayal. It's wisdom learned the hard way.